Good afternoon and welcome to the Wilton Mondelez Patriotic Display Kickoff meeting. Today we'll be having this meeting at PCA with some of our friends from New Creature. Just to start, we want to go over how PCA and New Creature actually work together. PCA is a corrugate design company, and we also have many production facilities that we house across the globe. So what we do is we design and we create the corrugate displays and we actually produce those, but where New Creature comes into play is they have a relationship with a Walmart buyer to where they can put these specific displays in Walmart. They also have a specialty within procurement and their logistics team to be able to meet all of the Walmart guidelines that they must abide by to be able to get these displays in the store. So a lot of companies come to New Creature wanting to build a display, knowing exactly what they want and what they need, but they just need that extra push to help them get it into Walmart. Now, looking around the room, we've got a bunch of people in here. These are all the stakeholders. Everyone that you see in this room has some say in this project. We're starting off with myself, Hannah Adams. I'll be the project manager from the PCA side. So basically, I'll be the liaison between Jaren, which is the account manager at New Creature, and everything that happens at PCA. So we'll be responsible for the design of the display, most of the graphics, testing the display, getting it to production, all of these things. Jaren and I will be talking back and forth very extensively throughout the life of this project. I'll also be in charge of making sure that all of the deliverables from PCA are given to Jaren and his team in a timely manner and in a time that we can agree on for these deliverables. Now, Jaren, like I said, is the account manager for New Creature, meaning that he houses the account of Wilton. Wilton is one of the brands that will be represented on this display, but it is the main brand. So basically, this is a Wilton Mondelez co-branded palette, but Wilton will be taking kind of the front runner for this display. So Jaren is in direct contact with Wilton, and he will basically come up with a creative brief, understand exactly what they're looking for with this display, talk to the Walmart buyers, talk to Wilton, come up with a really good, what we call as a 3D rendering of what the display needs to look like, and then he'll basically turn it over to us at PCA, and we'll get it designed, we'll get it tested, we'll have dozens and dozens of approvals, but basically he gets the ball rolling and keeps us in line between Wilton and Walmart as we make this display. David Miller is our sales manager. He is a PCA employee, as this will be produced at PCA and through PCA production facilities. He's in charge of basically making the sale, for lack of a better term. If he hasn't already for this display, he will be soon creating an estimate of what this display might cost. Obviously, cost is a driving factor for everyone. So he'll make sure that this is within the costing that Wilton, Mondelez, Walmart, etc. have already laid out and that New Creature is comfortable with. And once they figure out that that is acceptable, which they have, otherwise we wouldn't be in this kickoff meeting, we will move forward from there. He'll also kind of take a step back as we get into the meat of the project throughout the design and the graphics and everything. But he'll come back in at the end to re-estimate, make sure, nothing crazy came up. We didn't add a bunch of crazy graphics, etc. And just make sure that that price is going to be aligned with what the plant needs to be able to produce it. And he'll also help kind of walk the plant through the project as they take it over into the production side of it. Kevin Henry will be our design manager. He's also from PCA. He'll be in charge of making sure the design is sound all the way through. So he may not be the direct person creating the CAD files and creating the displays, but he will be the person who's responsible for it at the end, for making sure that it checks all of the boxes on, is it going to pass through distribution? Are the graphics correct? Does it hold all the product, etc.? He's the go-to man for that. Now, with all that being said, that's a lot of information. There's going to be a handout given at the conclusion of this meeting with the contact information for these stakeholders. We definitely want you guys to be able to talk to one another. Obviously, you have a lot of say in this project, or you wouldn't be in this meeting. So we want you guys to be able to have that say and get what you need to be heard across. We want to keep in mind that either Jaren or myself really need to be involved in those meetings to be able to basically keep all that information together and make sure it gets all the way across to the display or to the people that it needs to get to, just in order for all of that to be basically recorded. Now, this is the display that we've been talking about. This is the half palette, Wilton Mondelez display. Mondelez is a company that basically houses Nabisco, which houses Oreo. So the Mondelez side of it is only the Oreos. The rest of it is Wilton product. So it's primarily Wilton. Lots of different Wilton products, different product mix, and then you've got your Oreos on the left-hand side. A couple of things that we want to point out with this so far is that we've got different logos here. We've got the Oreo logo, as you can see on side A at the top, and then we've also got the Wilton logo, which is on side C at the very top. We want to make absolutely sure that these logos stay tried and true all the way down through the end. They have a specific color that they need to match exactly once they hit the store. We wouldn't want to mess up anybody's logos or trademarks or anything like that. So that's, one of our very big concerns. Also, if you see on side A, we've got this price point at the top. It's $2.98. And on the top of side C, you've got a price point at $1.88. Now this header is the same size on each side, the very same cutting die, will likely be anyways the same cutting die, but we need to keep in mind that one of the products costs $2.98 and the other costs $1.88. So we need to be very specific in our assembly instructions on where we put these headers and how they are aligned, so we make sure that we're not charging more for one and less for another. On this display, we've got a lot of different products, as I've already said. 76 packages of regular Oreos. As you can see in the very center, labeled A, are the regular Oreos, and then labeled B are the double stuffed Oreos. So you've got significantly less double stuffed Oreos than regular, but that also goes across on the other side, on side A, as you can see on the left. Now the candy melts is what takes up the majority of the center of the Wilton side of it. There's 135 candy melts. As we've seen candy melts throughout the life of Wilton, on every single display there's candy melts. We've also got a couple of different products, some that we've seen, some that we haven't. This 3-pack sprinkles are new. They're going to be a pegged product. The squeeze bottles go down at the bottom in a dump bin, as you can see on side C. And the icing decor and paper sticks are pegged in the standard baking cups. Since there's such a high quantity of those, we felt it best if those were in the dump bin in the bottom as well. A couple of goals for this project. Obviously, we want to drive down cost where we can, and the easiest place to do this is to reuse tooling. So reuse the cutting dies from previous displays that we've had with Wilton, with New Creature. Anything that we can use would be helpful. Jaren and I have discussed that we've done a Wilton Easter half palette and also a Wilton Halloween half palette, that we could possibly use some of that tooling, maybe a header here and there. Everything could help. We just talked about the logos with the specific PMS colors. We want to make sure we stay true to those logos and those trademarks. Also the headers, like we just discussed, the 2 price points, we need to keep those separate. We've had some trouble in the past, so definitely moving forward, that needs to stay at the forefront of everyone's minds. We need to make sure that all the product fits on the display. Obviously that's a given. Jaren and I have already discussed that this particular half palette will be tight. It's a lot of product going on this display, but it has already been sold to Walmart, so there's no wiggle room here. We have to get the product on the display no matter what it takes. Obviously, we want to complete the project with the expected deliverable dates, everything that we can do to keep moving forward and hit those dates as best as possible is always a good goal for us to have. Lastly, a couple of things that we know about production is this display is going to go through the fashion distribution centers. That means that we're going to have to push back our due dates quite a bit. Usually we work about 6 months out. With the fashion DCs, you have to go 2 months before that. So everything takes a little bit longer after production to get things shipped to the 12 different distribution centers. As well as we'll need extensive assembly instructions to provide to those FDCs to be able to put the displays together. We don't need just pictures of us doing it and us being the co-pack facility where we know what we're doing, we know what this picture looks like. It needs to be very well organized and very well put together so anybody who saw the pictures could be able to put the display together. We're currently scheduled to produce 1,280 displays, which is a great number. That's a lot. So that being said, we want to make sure that we have everything buttoned up before we finish this, before we send it off to production to be mass produced, because this will be a big one going to all the fashion distribution centers. Now this is just a rough schedule of the deliverables that we'll have to meet as well as the completion date. Now Jaron and I have talked about this, but obviously we know things will change and things will move based on how long one piece takes versus another. So this is just a very rough outline and we'll get to the nitty-gritty as we move forward. Now I'm going to give you the handout with the stakeholders information so you guys can all talk, but does anybody have any questions? If not, thank you so much for your time.